The former Forest Research Institute was reorganized into the Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, or ERDB. ERDB is the principal research arm of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources that develops relevant and scientific research and development programs that address the nation's cross-cutting concerns on different major ecosystems, such as forest, upland farms, grassland and degraded areas, coastal zone and freshwater, and urban areas. With this, ERDB has come up with 9 research and development programs to achieve the following goals: sustaining forest ecosystems, managing coastal and freshwater ecosystems dynamics, promoting health of urban areas ecosystems, addressing hazards in watersheds for water supply efficiency, sustaining agroforestry and upland farming systems, enhancing resilience of wetlands and coastal areas, conserving and sustaining plantations and natural forests, rehabilitating mined out and degraded areas through ERDB technologies, reducing pollution in highly urbanized areas. In 2015, from its main headquarters in Los Baños, Laguna, ERDB has widened its reach all over the country to develop more innovative ecosystem technologies in its 6 areas of excellence in the fields of watershed and water resources, toxic and hazardous wastes, urban and biodiversity, coastal resources and ecotourism, agroforestry, forestry, and wetlands. ERDB's research and development efforts are now organized in CAR, NCR, Region 4A, Region 7, Region 11, and Region 13 through its Research, Development, and Extension Centers, or RDEX. RDEX formulate and implement applied and action-oriented ENR studies that enable the advancement of research, development, and extension work in ERDB's specialized areas of excellence. Loyal to its mandate, the Bureau pursues to strike a balance between caring for the ecosystems and nurturing people's lives by developing propagation technology, plantation establishment, and harvesting techniques for bamboo, rattan, and mangrove. Specializing in seed technology and clonal propagation of high-quality dipterocarp seedlings and other indigenous forest trees. ERDB has invented the HiQ VAM1, an advanced biofertilizer used in DENR's nationwide reforestation programs. Through ERDB's Ridge to Reef research, the Bureau has developed relevant technologies for the rehabilitation of abandoned fish ponds and development of environment-friendly techniques to revive polluted waters, mined out areas, and other degraded ecosystems. Today, the Bureau also actively spearheads the study of DENR's carrying capacity programs and vulnerability assessments of watersheds, protected areas, and ecotourism areas all over the country. But the role of ERDB does not end with developing technologies and programs. To extend its services to its stakeholders, ERDB conducts various technology transfer and extension activities such as provisions of technical assistance, capacity enhancements, and field deployment activities. ERDB maintains state-of-the-art research facilities and demonstration areas aimed to provide the public with a better grasp and appreciation of ERDB's generated technologies. Through its educational materials, ERDB encourages the public's participation with its 5-step strategic communication process: analyzing, strategic design, development and testing, implementation and monitoring, evaluation, and replanning. As a research institution, ERDB strives to reinforce their communication strategies, to promote their goals and raise public awareness. To do this, the Bureau regularly releases information about their scientific breakthroughs and projects through technical journals, semi-technical research and development newsletters, manuals, and bulletins. These publicity and promotional efforts are also instrumental in expanding research-driven studies and technologies to match the client's growing needs. The Bureau continues to promote its public reach, local and international, by maintaining its presence online. At ERDB, researchers from various fields of science continuously work together to develop cutting-edge technologies and revolutionary programs that will help advance the country's understanding of our ecosystems and encourage people to help preserve them. ERDB, bridging ecosystems and science to people.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. The Central Bicol State University of Agriculture is a premier learning institution which envisions becoming an agricultural research university of global standards. With this in mind, knowledge and technologies from the university are shared and disseminated not only to its target clientele, but more so to the academic community. To our resource speakers, distinguished guests, members of the working committees, visitors from all over the world, welcome to this year's International Conference on Education, Environment, and Agriculture with the theme Agri-Industrial Technology and E-Agriculture, Innovating Rural Development for the Future. Now, before we head to the formal opening of the program, we wish to remind everyone of a few Zoom etiquettes. Be on time. Join the meeting in a few minutes early. Dress appropriately. Third, chat responsibly. Use chat to ask questions or click the raise hand reaction on your taskbar. Fourth, limit distraction. We advise that you find a quiet place. Fifth, mute your microphone except when you are speaking. And number six, we have speak clearly. Seventh, be prepared. Charge your computer or your cell phone and use headphone or speaker. And then we'd like to ask everyone to show respect as well. Practice good etiquette. Listen, be respectful, and lastly, be considerate. We also would like to request our participants and our guests to use this format in renaming the names in the meeting. We have affiliation underscore country dash your name. For example, we have here CBSUA underscore Philippines or PH dash Juan de la Cruz. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope everybody was able to change the format of their names in the meeting already. So at this juncture, I know that you guys are all jittery as well as excited about this event. So to formally commence this program, please direct your attention to the screen and feel a few moments in the presence of the Lord for the opening prayer.
Our Heavenly Father, the fount of all goodness and grace, the cause of wisdom, the source of intelligence, we welcome you, O Lord, to this auspicious gathering of your beloved, who continuously give you thanks for every opportunity to learn something new and become fruitful to the works of your creation. We humbly come to you, not because we are worthy, but because we find ourselves in need of you, who is our strength and our hope, to continue despite the challenges we face in health, prosperity, and our solidarity with one another. We pray that today's gathering, made possible by the grace of advancements in technology and social media, become successful in its endeavors, so we can offer it back to you as our humble offering to honor you, glorify you, and love you through our deeper connection with everyone. May we find bliss in today's session and become more productive children and co-creators of the earth. This we ask and pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Isaiah 2022 Agri-Industrial Technology and E-Agriculture Innovating Rural Development for the Future. Isaiah 2022 creates an avenue for creativity, innovation, and community engagement in advancing the need for agri-industrial technology and e-agriculture. Despite the global uncertainty and challenges, agri-industrial technology and e-agriculture become an emerging field focusing on rural development through industrial and digital agriculture. This emerging field can cause a significant shift in farming, food production, and food security over the coming years. Isaiah 2022 underscores the interconnectivity of agriculture and education to the environment. This connectivity is a critical lifeline for society to survive and flourish. As such, we pay homage and tribute to nature where the environment is embedded. Nature is a cocoon that provides a variety of ecosystem services, which in turn serve as tools for agri-industrial technology and e-agriculture to transform and prosper. Thus, the conference gathers a community of scholars and researchers that set forth the tone with creative and innovative solutions, making agro-industrial technology and e-agriculture an innovation towards rural development for the future. Perhaps this could be a way of saying thank you to Mother Nature for nurturing man and its landscapes. Welcome to Isaiah 2022.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, what you University of Agriculture, Vietnam National University of Agriculture, the Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, and the University Technology Mara. At this point in time, we have all witnessed the university president's usual practice of inspiring more and more people to pursue new heights of excellence for more and more community. So to welcome us all in today's activity, help me in welcoming our university president, Dr. Alberto Naperi. A round of virtual applause, please. To welcome us all in this event, the International Conference on Education, Environment, and Agriculture, we have with us today the Vice President for Research and Innovation of the CBSUA Pili Campus, Philippines. We have with us Dr. Ramona Isabel S. Ramirez.
Thank you, Ms. MC. To our distinguished guests of honor, JED Commissioner Aldrin A. Tarilag, Dr. Nguyen Sai Lan of Vietnam National University of Agriculture, Dr. Rusia Binti Mod Hanor, Vice Chancellor of University Technology Mara, Malaysia, represented by Professor Senior Dr. Zulkifli Abdul Latif, Dr. Maria Lourdes Peret, Director of ERDB, Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Our expert plenary speakers, Dr. Jonathan P. Aguilar of Kansas State University, USA, Dr. Sadhan Kumar Ghosh of Jadavpur University, India, Dr. Siti Iqbar Saleh of University Technology Mara, Malaysia, and Dr. Maria Ana T. Kimbo of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Our dear and working president, Dr. Alberto N. Naperi, organizer and partners of Isaiah 2022, paper presenters, participants, ladies and gentlemen, a blessed day to all of you. International Conference on Education, Environment, and Agriculture is on its third successful year because of your participation. The first being in 2020. This year, it has become more relevant because the concerns of education, environment, and agriculture will be addressed through agri-industrial technology and e-agriculture to be able to promote innovations and rural development in the years to come. Agri-industrial technology is an applied science that focuses on planning, designing, developing, and evaluating an integrated system in agri-industry activities to achieve the optimum performance. E-agriculture, on the other hand, is a community of practice characterized by exchange of information ideas, and resources related to the use of information and communication technologies for sustainable agriculture and rural development. When these two relevant practices and scientific techniques join together, problems of farmers, environmentalists, academicians, and the community may be addressed. Today's presentation of research outputs will provide big opportunity for learning as it cuts across not only between nations, but between continents. Our plenary speaker from USA will share his expertise on precision irrigation. The gentleman from India is an advocate of circular economy and will talk about it in sustainable agri-waste management for environmental protection. Our partner from Malaysia will enrich us with knowledge on citizen-based geospatial technology in mitigating climate change impacts. And our friend from UPLB will discuss about shaping the workforce and learning in higher education. The different sessions will further enrich us as we witness the sharing of various research and innovation outputs on education, environment, and agriculture. It has been the advocacy of the Central Bicol State University of Agriculture to provide opportunities for learning and research as we perform our mandate in agriculture and community service. As such, allow me to welcome you all in this big event of knowledge sharing. May you all have a fruitful and happy experience that is worth remembering. Good day, everyone. God bless us all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramona Isabel Ramirez, our Vice President for Research and Innovation at Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, for always taking the lead in making innovations, not only in the university, but also in different nations and continents. We admire always your wit and brilliance, madam. Moving forward, we have all witnessed the university president's usual practice of inspiring more and more people to pursue new heights of excellence for more and more community. So to give us a message in today's activity, help me in welcoming the university president, Dr. Alberto Naperi. A round of virtual applause, please.
The Philippines is transitioning from largely agrarian and rural economies to increasingly non-agricultural and urban economies, and from subsistence to commercial agriculture. But because our country is home to most of the world's hungry and most of the poor still live in rural areas and are engaged with agriculture and related activities for their livelihood, agriculture and rural development remains a cornerstone as our country make this transition. Moreover, access to use of digital technology in rural areas has increased considerably, underpinning a vast body of theoretical and empirical research on its implications for agricultural production, trade, and well-being of rural communities. Nevertheless, more research is needed to better understand how digitization affects rural and agricultural development. The Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, through its Research and Innovations Cluster, recognizes the pressing challenges related to urbanization, changing food demands, environmental degradation, scarcity on supply, and other issues on agriculture and environment, thus increasing the prominence and importance of the role of CBSUA in the Bicol region and in the country as a whole. With this virtual conference, ideas, insights, practices, lessons, and solutions from various experts locally and abroad will be shared, exchange, and study. I just hope that the conference will spotlight policy solutions and practices that enhance sustainable rural development. All told, we must re-examine our roles in the development of the agriculture that redounds to the economy of the rural sector. Let us help our leaders, decision makers, and other stakeholders come up with programs, projects, and activities that are innovative, doable, and sustainable. After all, the issues and concerns on the environment, agriculture, and rural economy are too important to be left to the concerned agencies alone. My warmest congratulations to the organizers and welcome to the delegates and participants to this third International Conference on Education, Environment, and Agriculture. Thank you very much and mabuhay.
Thank you so much, President Albert. It is really true that excellence starts with someone's way of doing it. We at the Central Bicol State University of Agriculture promise to continuously serve and be excellent in our own fields of expertise, especially in the field of research. Moving forward, we also have with us today the president of Vietnam National University of Agriculture in Vietnam. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all listen to the message of Professor Dr. Nguyen Thi Lan. Let us all give her a resonating sound of applause.
Thank you so much, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phạm Bảo Dương. I'm Vice President of the Vietnam National University of Agriculture. Today, the presidency, on behalf of the President, Madam Nguyen Thi Lan, it is my great honor and privilege on behalf of our university, after the success of the second International Conference on Education, Environment, and Agriculture last year, to be the co-organizer with the Central Bicol State University of Agriculture and Ecosystem Research and Development Bureau for the third annual conference, which is organized virtually from 30 to 31st of August 2022. I take this opportunity to welcome all the participants to this event. The ICEEA 2022 will feature an exciting scientific program focused on agriculture, industrial technology, and e-agriculture, with the latest innovation on rural development for the future. The conference will include the presentation sections reflecting the precision and irrigation, circular economy in sustainable agriculture, waste management for the environmental protection, empowering citizen-based geospatial technology in mitigating climate change impact, and shaping the workforce and learning in higher education. A priority aim of this conference will continue to deepen the partnership relationship and foster communication among researchers and practitioners working in a wide variety of scientific areas with a common interest in improving the life of people. This year conference brings together many attendants from Indonesia, from Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Timor-Leste, Malaysia, and the Philippines that further the development in the fields of education, environment, and agriculture. I am happy and delighted to meet the colleagues from different countries united in the same goal. I look forward to sharing new information and exciting discoveries with you. On this occasion, I wish us all a stimulating and successful meeting. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pham Baldo, for your message and for supporting events and partnerships like this. Send also our gratitude to Dr. Nguyen Thilan. Thank you so much, sir. At this point in time, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University Technology Nara in Malaysia, Professor Dr. Cruzaya Budhanor, the Director for Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainable Development of University of Technology Nara in Malaysia, will also be graciously be delivering a message. So folks, please give a big hand to Professor Dr. Zulkifli Latif.
Honorable professors, distinguished guests, and respected colleagues, good morning and Maganda Arrow. First of all, on behalf of our Vice Chancellor, I would like to thank the main organizer of the International Conference on Education, Environment and Agriculture, Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, Philippines, for the opportunity to be part of the host together with Vietnam National University of Agriculture and Ecosystem Research and Development Bureau. This is the first year of our joint program with University of Umara through the collaboration established with my institute, the Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainable Development of UiTM. To all participants, I would like to express my very warm welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your hectic schedule to join us today. We hope that you will find that program we have planned for you to be beneficial and interesting. I was told there are over 100 papers were submitted and we presented at this conference with theme Sustainable Agriculture, Environment and Education. Shows that this conference has its own followers and provide a good platform of knowledge sharing and networking. To all plenary panels, presenters and participants, hope you have a fruitful event and enjoy your 2 days conference. All the best. Thank you.
We are very much delighted, Dr. Zulkifli, to have you here with us in this year's ISEA 2022. Moving on, we are about to listen to a message of the Director of Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources here in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Dr. Maria Lourdes G. Ferrer, CESO 3. Let us all give her a warm sound of applause.
Good morning, diverse delegates. The Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, the Vietnam National University of Agriculture, the University of Technology Mara, the Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, and all the students, researchers, distinguished guests, and reputable speakers from around the world. It is my honor to be with you all today at the 3rd International Conference on Education, Environment, and Agriculture. In achieving a sustainable future we have all been dreaming of, strategies to promote rural development are crucial in today's time and must be put at the center of our development efforts. Data suggests that 3/4 of the world's poor live in rural areas, and most earn their living from farming. In most developing countries, families in rural areas have to endure low income and remain to be uncompetitive due to insufficient production inputs, lack of innovative machinery and equipment, poor quality infrastructure, lack of access to markets, and limited means to quality education. And their situation exacerbates due to the impacts of climate change, not to mention the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Unsustainable agriculture practices, forestry, and land use change are also responsible for about 24% of the world's greenhouse gases. And as the world's population increases, so does the demand for agricultural commodities, ergo placing even more pressure on the environment. Here lies the importance of an interdisciplinary approach in developing strategies to engineer development in rural areas. Employing pedagogical and pedagogical approaches in educating people about the use of technology would transform the agricultural sector E-agriculture, or the utilization of information and communication technology to enhance agricultural productivity, also becomes highly efficient in harnessing the agricultural industry without compromising the environment and natural resources. The rate of technology adoption relies heavily on how well we educate people beyond the walls of a classroom and let them learn in the field. Instructional methodologies must be explored to create long-lasting change, because with a healthier, sustainable, and inclusive agricultural system, watersheds will be protected, critical habitats will be restored, soil and water supply will be enhanced, and the lives of mankind will be improved. In this two-day event, we aim to provide an avenue where delegates can have a professional discussion and share ideas on the advanced techniques in agricultural, industrial technology, and e-agriculture to further promote rural development. May we all have an engaging and productive time in this virtual conference and be able to create an active network of practice for further discussions and sharing of knowledge and capabilities. Thank you and mabuhay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ferrer, for giving us the opportunity to learn more from your message. At this juncture, we now come to one of the highlights of our event this year. Ladies and gentlemen, our beloved Commissioner from the Commission on Higher Education Philippines, Dr. Aldrin A. Darilag, to deliver the keynote speech. Let's give him a resonating sound of virtual applause. Perhaps you will be joining our meeting later this afternoon. In the meantime, before we end this part of the program, may we ask everyone to please turn on their camera for some photo opportunity with the presidents and vice presidents of the universities who collaborated with us for this event. This will be facilitated by our technical team. Okay, are we all ready? Please show us your most beautiful smiles. In 3, 2, 1. Another slide of the meeting. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, for the last photo. In 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much, everybody. Those who are experiencing bad connection, you may turn off your camera once again. Now, at this juncture, we are about to witness a cultural performance to be given to us by the Sambit ng CBSUA of the Calabanga campus. Let us all be in awe of their performance. What you have witnessed, ladies and gentlemen, are the famous cultural dances here in the Philippines. Thank you so much to all our performers for allowing us to see such talents here in our event today. We now come to one of the most awaited parts of this year's International Conference on Education, Environment, and Agriculture. Allow me to introduce our first speaker. He finished his degree in Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Engineering, major in Land and Water Resource Engineering at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. He pursued his master's degree in Agricultural Engineering, major in Soil and Water Resources Engineering, minor in Environmental Science and Management in the same university. With his intelligence and abilities, he was able to complete his degree of Doctors of Philosophy in Biological and Agricultural Engineering, major in Hydrology and Watershed Modeling, minor in Geographic Information Systems in Kansas State University. He is an associate professor and water resource engineer of Kansas State University in Manhattan, USA. Ladies and gentlemen, to talk about the topic precision irrigation, let us all give a big round of applause to Dr. Jonathan P. Aguilar.
Good morning, everyone. Let me just share my screen here. Okay, just to check, are you seeing a PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this honor to be able to talk to you about precision irrigation. I know that this is something that has been in the mind of many because as we go through some areas of the country or even some of the areas of the world that are in drought, we are mindful about the water resources that we have to be that we are trying to manage in our agricultural setting, trying to still have that opportunity to also feed the world. So again, my name is Jonathan Aguilar, and I'm an associate professor in water resource engineer with Kansas State University. What I'm going to share with you is the precision irrigation in the mindset of the North American flavor, and hopefully to be able to share it under the Philippine conditions and probably even our neighboring countries here, the uh, the Asian conditions as well. So sorry for that one. Okay, so let me just move on to the next slide. So as an overview, I will be talking about the background and why we irrigate, try to talk about the effective management and tackle some of the new and emerging technology that we are seeing in the ground on the ground to be able to be used for agricultural purposes. And I would like to have this opportunity to actually have this presentation more like interactive. So from time to time, I will be asking questions, and I will encourage you to chat and put your answers on the board so that we could have a nice and fruitful conversation here during the presentation. So again, let's that's basically my overview. So just an overview again of what was already mentioned about. Just want to say that yes, thank you very much for those opportunity. And I was with the Philippines for a while under the UPLB, and again, even though I am in the U.S. in the Philippines talking with international colleagues, I think it's good to remember that our goal is still to help empower the farmers in making informed decisions, either to make them successful in their enterprise, as well as trying to protect also in the environment where they are operating as well. So I've worked with several institutions already, UPLB, K-State, UPLB FI, worked with a project with FAO, USDA ARS also I was associated with it as well. So I try to also put the perspective in what I've learned from the universities and where we are, where I am right now in terms of my profession. So I started my career in Philippine agriculture. Well, you probably know in the last few days we have had several rains. Typically, we'd have about 2.2 meters of rainfall over the years per year, and most of it are coming in as typhoons, which unfortunately is very intense. And in the Philippines, we always talk about the islands. We are surrounded by islands, and there's now about 7,641 accounted islands in the Philippines. But where I am right now working, this is the continental U.S., and I like to show this with the precipitation gradient across the country. Is that I now am operating in an area where there is a semi-arid situation, where in the east side of the state you've got a lot of rainfall, and as you go towards the west, you lose that rainfall because of the orographic effect and just the way that the system is set up. And so we are actually in the edge right there with the with the red rectangle is where Kansas is, and you'll see the gradient from the very subhumid environment on the northeast, on the southeast corner, towards the more semi-arid situation in the west. So for those that are not very familiar with the U.S., just to give you a point of comparison here, Washington D.C. is on the east side, and San Francisco, California, which what we typically see, or the Hollywood we typically see, is on the west side of the state. We are right there in the middle. In fact, we are very close to the geographic center of the continental U.S. So that's where I am operating, and I show this because there is something that I will be sharing later on in terms of the water resources and irrigation that I would like you to notice. So when I moved to Kansas, things changed in terms of the environment. Now we're talking from 2 meters of rainfall to only zero point 0.4 average across the state. But in fact, where I live in, there's only about 0.3 meters of rainfall every year. So there's really a big drastic difference. In fact, one of the things that I have uh, to do is to put on lotion because it's too dry that you don't notice it, that it's really very very dry in your skin. So that's one of the things that I noticed. So instead of typhoons, we have tornadoes. About 92 of them pass through the state throughout every year. And instead of islands, we are landlocked. We have lakes. So there's about 106 lakes, man-made lakes in particular, across the state. So that's the big difference. A very contrasting environment that I was in terms of my background. So, which again drives back to the issue about water. What is the role of water in all of this? Where we have a lot of rain in the Philippines and very small number, small amount of rain in Kansas. I was in one of my presentation. I was asked by the audience. So you have a lot of rain in the Philippines. Why study irrigation? And in fact, why study water management? Well, I told them that, well, yes, it's true that there's a lot of rain, particularly in the Philippines, in terms of the amount. But the problem or the challenge is still the same, whether you're in Kansas or in the US, whether you're in Asia or in the Philippines, or even in other parts of the world. The issue are still the same. The water, the rain doesn't come at the right place, at the right time, at the right amount, and even at the right quality. So that's still is a universal issue with water. So I will deal a little bit here in my talk with a little bit of what we've learned and what we think about in terms of the opportunities for water management. So again, giving you an idea of what it is in terms of the rainfall, where I am working with my research and extension work, we only get about 46 centimeters of rainfall every year. Most of them towards the summer months, wherein we have a big growing demand for that water. In contrast, we do in terms of evapotranspiration. For those that are not familiar with evapotranspiration, basically this is the amount of water that is lost if you put in a body of water on outside. That's the amount of water that will be lost just because of the environment. The the microenvironment is going to drive that water or evaporate that water in that environment. So we are close to about 2 meters of water is lost every year just because of that. So this is part of where I'd like you to be participating. So in your area, how much water or how much rain do you get in a year? I think this is one of the important questions that we as water managers should think about. How much water do we really get every year? Does anybody know? So if you know of the answer, just put it in the chat. I think I could, since I am on I'm sharing my screen. I could not see all of them, but just for everybody to at least recognize that yes, we do have different amount of rainfall that we get every year. So I'll just give you a few seconds here to just type in the number of what do you think is the rainfall that you get in your area. I see that there's quite a few of us scattered across the country, and I know that, for example, in the Ilocos area, it's different, or Region 1 area, it's different from what you get in Region 10 area, or somewhere in between. So if you know what your rainfall is, just put it in the chat, please. Okay, so moving on. So I think it is important to just be mindful of what we get in terms of our location, in terms of our rainfall. So so going back to a much more broader sense, why we are talking about water irrigation here? Well, when we talk about drinking water, we only think about the water that is on our glass. But in reality, there's about 1,000-fold more water in our food. So in the plate that we eat, there's a lot more water that is involved actually in there. And it's not only the drinking water that we are talking about here, but also the virtual water that is embedded in our food. And that's the main reason why across the globe, 70% of the water is being used for agriculture. Because as you could see, there's really a big demand for us to be able to produce food, particularly as we've got the burgeoning um, environment or the global population out here in the world. So with all of what we eat needs water to grow, starting from a very dry bread to a much more richer food like apple or fruit or even steak or any type of meat. So there's a lot of water that is involved. So I think that just reminds us of where we are in terms of why we talk about agriculture in the first place. The second is that we know that all of these global goals for sustainable development by the United Nations, and I would argue that I think many of this, in particular about five of these, are related to water management and irrigation. A lot of this would be one directly or indirectly be touching some of these issues, like the zero hunger or the clean water for sanitation, climate action or life below the water, or even the responsible consumption of production. I think many of these issues or our goals will be touched by water management in terms of the irrigation. So there is a lot of that we could probably do in terms of this water management. So so there's a lot of things that we could make some adjustment. For some reason, it's not working. So again, going back to why we irrigate, why we water crops, and why we water plants, I just want to touch base about the the basic tenet why we are talking about this in the first place. So I think one of the things that I could probably share with you is that the yield gap. What is a yield gap? So the moment that you put in the seeds on the ground, it will be under the different scenarios or different environment already. So there's going to be the temperature or the weather environment. The insects, pests, and disease are going to act on that seed. The seedling itself, the nutrients, all of those are going to make some difference to this seed, and it will actually affect the yield in one way or another. So just to give you an idea, does anybody of you know the highest recorded yield for corn under a farmer's field? Again, if you know any answer that you probably think about, or you've got the possibility to be able to put it on a chat box, I appreciate it. Anybody know the highest recorded yield for corn? So the highest recorded yield for corn is 616 bushels per acre, or in metric tons, it's about 38.8 metric tons per hectare. This was attained in 2019, wherein they do have a National Corn Growers Association corn yield contest in the US. It was fascinating because this is a very high yield for the area, 38 metric tons per acre. And where did it occur? It's on a strip. It's on a strip field, minimum till with mulch, ridge till, and under the irrigated category, using a certain type of a pioneer seed. So it has broken a lot of records. So where does the national average comes in? It's only about 200 bushels per acre, or if you could say it, it's a third of what the corn yield was able to generate. So in the Philippines, I look at the numbers, and I think we are just only somewhere in about 10 metric tons per hectare is the average yield for corn in the Philippines. I think it's very similar to also to Southeast Asia. So we still have potential. So we know that there is potential for us to generate more or to yield more. And one of those category is that under the irrigated category, I think we could achieve more of this metric tons. So while I was talking a while ago, the global need to be able to feed the world, I think we could achieve it by just irrigation. By one of the tools is irrigation, putting in more than twice the yield for this area. So some of the reasons why we irrigate is that one, we would like to increase the crop yield. Second is we would like to stabilize or ensure yield. The third would be to improve crop and product quality. And lastly, all of this will try to improve the economy of our country, of our world, or of all of our surroundings. So that's where I'm going to focus more. And again, this is another proof that irrigation works. We have a field in Kansas where we've got side by side a field that doesn't get any irrigation, no irrigation at all, and it's only yielding about zero point 0.2 metric tons per hectare, so even lower than the average for the state. And that is not only true for 1 year, but actually multiple years. And then they also got a field that was only irrigated once, 2.5 centimeters once during tassels. So at a very critical stage, they were able to put an irrigation at that critical stage. And what happened compared with no irrigation? It doubled, more than doubled. It tripled the yield for at least 1991, and all over through that 11 years, they were able to show that it could double, more than double the yield for that particular field. So the rest of it, you've got the tassel for 1 week, tassel for one. Yes, it also increased the yield, but what we see is that there is that diminishing effect of the yield and the water that is being applied. So there is a silver lining among the rain-fed or the dry land situation and a fully irrigated field. So there is a silver lining there, or a sweet spot in that yield response through irrigation that we could probably achieve. And that's where I think smart irrigation or precision irrigation is going to be a very critical component in all of this talk about irrigation management. So another reason why we try to irrigate is because we would like to have to stabilize the yield. So we've already established that yes, there is an increase in yield shown here by the blue line on the top during over the years, and then we've got the dry land which doesn't get any irrigation. You've got it in the lower graph. But one thing that you could also notice here is that the the we those years, particularly we've got the shaded line on the background, those years that we've got drought or very dry situation, you could see that the big difference is actually the drop in the yield. So if you could stabilize the effect of the weather, which we do have those, we do get those from time to time. If we could stabilize the yield during those drought years, then most of us will also get a very nice income for the farmers as well as a stable economy in general. So that's another reason why we also have this. We also try to irrigate because we would like to also stabilize the yield. We've seen this also even in our more wetter areas. So as I mentioned a while ago in my map, we've got the west that are more semi-arid, and the east, which are more areas with semi-humid environment. And you could see that there is now a turnover of an increase of irrigated acres towards the east, where we even have a lot of water, a relatively lots of water to deal with. But we are seeing a lot more of those irrigated acres transforming from dry land to irrigated because of that stability. We would like to have a stable yield at the same time to reduce the rainfall variability in this region. So we are now seeing it not only in Kansas, but also across the country of the US. The brown or the warmer colors here that you see in the state is where we see a lot of significant decrease of irrigated acres, and we are now seeing it towards the west or the east where there is a lot more rainfall, but we are seeing an increase of rate of irrigated acres that are being transformed. So again, we associate that with the variability of the rainfall being an part of it would be the global climate change probably, but we could see that there we would like to make sure that we still have plants during those 1 or 2 weeks where we don't get the water, where we don't get the rainfall. Very similar here in the Philippines and in Southeast Asia, you still get those 2 or 3 weeks of no rainfall, and we would like to make sure that that crop survives across during those times that we don't get the water. Again, to prove that that economy is going to be enhanced if you've got an irrigated acres. Out of the 105 counties in Kansas, one only eight of eight counties, eight counties of I'm getting some feedback here. So anyway, out of the 105 counties in the state are generating 1/3 of the state's agricultural revenue, and that are all located in the southwest corner of the state. And one of the reasons for that kind of economy is irrigated economy, which is blessed by an aquifer, a very productive aquifer, which also one of the challenges that we are gaining in that area is that we would like to make sure that that productivity is maintained through those through those years. So I'll just show you several slides here that shows the diversity of where the water is being used. Lighter blue is because of irrigation, and other would be either industrial, the red would be municipal, the green would be recreational. That's just to show that across the state there's also the variability. And as you could see, as you go towards the southeast corner of the state, you could see that there is less and less water that is being used for purposes of irrigation, municipal use, just because there's a lot more rainfall that is going on, that is being received in that region. And you could expect that those dots here that you could see are also the wells, point of irrigation, point of diversions across the state. And as you could see again, as you go towards the southeast or the eastern part of the state, there is less and less of those in the area. And most of it are actually being used for irrigation. And across the state, again, we have already transitioned from more flood irrigation, which is the green line, to more sprinkler type of irrigation, more efficient type of irrigation, which is the red line that you could see. So there has been already a shift from flood irrigation to now shifting towards more of the sprinkler irrigation, particularly center pivot. And you could see that the irrigated acres has been stable across the years, at least during the period that we have these numbers. So 1.2 million hectares of irrigated acres. So again, going back to water management or irrigation management, there's a lot that we could talk about, and I think this 30 minutes is not gonna be enough. But I'm going to touch something a little bit about each of these systems, like system efficiency, application efficiency, planning tools, scheduling, and strategies that could possibly do. In terms of irrigation of engineering, which is I am an irrigation engineer, we could only get to about 100% maximum. So most of this will still come from other technologies like the seed technology or even the management, crop water management will also come in play. So as I mentioned a while ago, there's beauty in being dry. It's very telling about when I say that there is beauty in being dry, knowing that I came or started my career in a very wet environment. But growing degree days is going to be more opportunity to work in the field will be more. Yield is relatively higher in a dry environment. Of course, you will just have to supplement that with irrigation to be able to get that yield. But also being dry, there's less leaching and runoff of nutrients. There's less pest and disease. There's less pressure, weed pressure, and less spoilage. Look at the picture that I have here on the bottom corner. Those are all wheat on that are being stored just outside of the bins. So because it is too dry, it is very dry. Spoilage is very small, even though it rains a little bit. So the spoilage is very small, and I don't think you could do that in the Philippines or even in the Southeast area. I started my career. Uh, I started my career. What do you call it? Drying palay outside, and this is not going to work in the Philippines. Yung pagbibilad, nagsimula ako sa pagbibilad, and I don't think this is going to work in the Philippines if you're just going to store it outside of the bins. And that is something that we could do in Kansas because we do get a lot of less rain in that area. So anyway, just showing here some of the issues that we have in our area, but we are moving towards a more efficient system. And I think smart irrigation is going to be very beneficial when you are dealing with limited irrigation or limited water resource here. So again, there's a lot of when you go with precision irrigation, there's a lot of things that you have to work with, the tools, the data, and the management, and that's going to involve a lot of data and technology, and most especially, there's going to be a lot of management. There's still man, even though we've got the very automated systems already. There's still the management that will focus more on the when and how much water is applied in this scenario. So we still need people to work with in terms of the water management. This is we call the 20th century definition of irrigation scheduling, the process of determining when and how much water should be applied. But I think knowing that we have areas where we could only supplement water when we maximize the use of the rain, I think we have to redefine it. And we've got some colleagues that have redefined it, the process of delaying any unnecessary irrigation with the hope that the cropping season will end before the next irrigation is needed. Basically, we are relying on Mother Nature to supplement us most of the water. But if the Nature doesn't deliver that, then we could delay 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and try to minimize unnecessary irrigation with the hope that Mother Nature will come back again and try to provide that water towards our management. So there's a lot of things that we could say about value of scheduling, reduce cost, invest in the future value of water, and we could talk more about it. But I think we should probably just focus on how do we do it. And I think in general, we could focus more on three of these generalized feedback. Is it based on the weather? Is it based on the plant? Or is it based on the soil? How do we manage our schedule or irrigation management? So again, I don't think I have enough time here to wait for feedback here, but I think which one do you think is better? Is it the weather-based, the soil-based, or the plant-based? And to give you an example here, again, just a disclaimer, binoculars is not an irrigation technology because we've seen that many irrigation schedule depends on the neighbor, and it's not true. So what I mean by irrigation scheduling tools would be the ET gauge, the checkbook method, the CanSched. We have several of those in Kansas, for example. Texas has a different one, the DM, WISE for Colorado. I think Fred is no one. There's a lot of items that could be done in terms of the weather-based. Irrigation scheduling using soil-based. It could be either gravimetric method, tensiometer, neutron count, electrical resistance, TDR, hand probe or feel. Those are things that we rely on when we're doing the irrigation management by the soil based. And then the plant based, we've got also a lot of technologies that are developing some of this. Most of them could be categorized under these general categories of infrared or thermal camera, dendrometer, uh, microtensiometer, osmotic or water potential, aerial imagery with the use of either the uh, planes or drones. These are things that are being done, and of course, let's not forget that some of them would still be under the uh, uh, visual feedback. So when we try to categorize all of this, which one is best? I think none of them is going to be best because all of them are going to be uh, not going to be perfect. But if we try to build confidence on using one or more of this, then we are able to get the best out of all of these tools. So for those who knows how to play Pusoy, good, better, best. I think that's probably the best way that I could put it. But if you have one tool, that's probably good. If you've got two, that's probably better. But if you've got three feedbacks from the field, then that's probably the best way to make those scheduling tools. Again, as I mentioned, we have in Kansas the CanSched. Anyone can schedule, and there's the link if you would like that, and I will share this as well later on. We're also helping the farmers make those decisions by giving them tips on how to measure or how to choose the best soil water sensors. That's also a tool for them. This is also a tool for us in terms of the extension, a soil demonstration videos, at least 10 different soil moisture sensors that we could possibly share. And there's also other evolving technologies like the mobile drip irrigation, trying to use the best of the drip irrigation and trying to put it in center pivots. We were trying to figure out where it is in terms of the race for efficiency. We think that it's somewhere below the subsurface drip irrigation, but it's definitely better than surface irrigation or flood irrigation. That's basically what we are testing in the field, and we were able to measure about 35% better in terms of the soil water evaporation, and also some gain in terms of the yield. So we think that it is also getting some yield advantages compared with the typical system that we have. It's not perfect. It has challenges. It has to be down on the canopy if it has to be working very well. To get also the best out of it, the farmer has to plant in circles, and some of the farmers are not very keen about planting in circles. And off-season management, rodents and other wildlife or some other issues are also some of the problems of this particular system. Of course, it has also an advantage because it could also improve the wheel track in some systems. Uh, Many of you are probably familiar with the variable rate irrigation. This has promising, particularly in areas where there is a lot of variability. But again, the cost. Uh, how do you balance the cost and how do you balance the advantage of this particular system? Um, it has advantage in very variable areas, but probably not in all. Again, I'll just show here some of the issues that we see the potential benefits, particularly in reducing the water cost, the energy cost, and reducing the water application rates in some areas. But of course, there are also some issues. It's more expensive, and there's also complexities if you would like to have a dynamic prescription. It's not just one touch. It has to have some prescription that goes with it. Um, and the feedback that you need to make those management, it's going to be either from the satellite, which also have some advantages and disadvantages, from the airborne thermal imaging. Again, some advantages and disadvantages as well. And I need to go into the details of this one. UAVs, again, they are very versatile, easy to deploy, but of course, you also have some advantages and disadvantages. particularly in terms of detection of water and evaluation of system performance. There's also the thermal images that are being used, static, ground-based, but it could only see a certain portion of it. Again, trying to balance between the advantages and disadvantages of this. As I mentioned, that they are static, but you could also put it in the dynamic on the center pivot itself, and it will go around. But again, there's also a lot of advantages and disadvantages. So in general, I just like to touch base on some of those. Irrigation is going to be one of the tools that we're going to achieve food security, try to increase the food production. Irrigation management is also going to be dependent on management and efficiency. It's going to be critical. And again, if we are going to have these improved technologies, it will help us to go towards the smarter and greener food production. But again, I'd just like to emphasize that people or the management is still going to be a very big component of this. Just want to share a lot of resources that you could take advantage of. Many of them are going to be free, so take advantage of those management tools, and you could get into this link later on. And I think you do have your own source of irrigation management sources. So just be mindful of those sources, particularly from the universities and government agencies. With that, thank you, and I think it will be more important if you get some dialogues here. Be open for Q&A. Thank you, Diyos mabalo, salamat, gracias, kumonban.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aguilar, for shedding so much light on that certain topics. It's really very important, especially here in the Philippines, in discussion forum. We also would like to inform everyone that this event can be streamed live via the official Facebook page of the Extension Services Division. So right now, Dr. Aguilar will be giving us the opportunity to answer several questions relevant to his discussion today on the topic precision irrigation. So if you have questions, you may just want to raise your hand, or you could just type in your queries in the discussion chat, or the chat box rather. So you may now ask questions related to the topic of precision irrigation. Our team will also be monitoring the Facebook Live, because if there are viewers who would like to ask questions to our speakers, then they could just chat perhaps the questions in the chat box.
Okay, I think I see a question here, and I'll just try to read it as well for those that don't have a camera or having some difficulties technically. Good morning. Would like to ask, what are the limitations of precision irrigation system in view of soil health and groundwater management? It is actually a very good question, because irrigation is typically seen as a what do you call it, as a support for some of these issues. So soil health, we are in a location that is really dry, and as you go towards the east, as I mentioned a while ago, it's wet. Soil health is important to be able to establish a good management in the system, and to have a more reliable system overall in the farm. And what is important, what is needed to have a good soil health? It's actually water, because you would need to have a living environment for them. And if it is too dry for the environment, then many of the microbes or microbial population is not going to thrive in that environment. I say this because we've seen that the differences between the east and the west, wherein they are able to establish good soil health very quickly in a more humid environment compared with a very dry environment in the West. And so what we have seen is that coupled with good farm management, like no-till, no-tillage or strip tillage, you could actually help enhance soil health with precision irrigation because one, you are not wasting any of the water, and the second, you are applying it when it's really needed. Because if you have a dry environment, it doesn't rain for quite a while, most of your microbes are also going to die. So if you would like to sustain that good population of microbes, you would need to make sure that they are also sustained throughout those dry spells. Groundwater replenishment is another issue. Where we are, the groundwater is really very deep. When I mean really deep, it's about 100 meters deep. So there is really an issue about it being recharged. I've worked for a while here in the Philippines under the shallow tube well irrigation project, and we were able to see some areas in the country that are have a very good recharge. And I think that's a big difference between those two areas. 100 meters compared with only 3 meters of water table. So in areas where you've got a shallower water table, it's easy to be able to justify some of this irrigation management. But in towards where you've got a very deep aquifer, irrigation management is really going to be critical. So here, if you don't have an issue about replenishment, then you could possibly you could possibly uh, b- uh, the precision might not be as critical compared when you are in an area where the groundwater replenishment is going to be difficult. Um, there's also two aspects of groundwater replenishment. One is that what do you like to achieve? Do you like to achieve more groundwater replenishment or recharge? Or you would like to make sure that your crop is going to use that water more efficiently? Because if you would like to have a component of it as groundwater management, then you would like to have also some deep percolation. But if you would like to just focus on the crop itself, then you don't like deep percolation as well. So I think that's how I answered that question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aguilar, and to Sir Michael Baldonado for the question. We have here another question, sir, from the chat from Mamfe Oceanes. Thank you, sir, for that very informative presentation. May I know further if remote sensing can help in determining soil and water conditions in rice fields?
Yes, this is also a very good question because the water management under with remote sensing is a little bit tricky for a couple of reasons. So if you're talking about remote sensing, what are we talking about here? Is it the NDVI which assesses the health of the crop, or is it the water? Is it are we trying to look for the water where the moisture is? So we have a lot of tools in terms of NDVI because many of the platforms that are available, particularly in the satellite world, are looking really on the red, green, and infrared uh, uh, in the infrared bands. So we are able to see more of uh, those issues. But when we go towards the soil moisture, it becomes a little bit tricky because not a lot of soil of remote sensing platforms are able to detect the water. So under the rice field condition, I think it is relatively easy because the microwave is able to detect or see the or at least uh, what you call differentiate the water from the plant itself. And that is only when the canopy is still open. But once it closes, now we're going to look more towards the plant-based or the NDVI platforms, more towards that. Because once the canopy closes, we could not detect the water anymore with remote sensing, unless there are, again, patches where there is open spaces that you could see. With the rice field in particular, one of the technology that they are coming through is the alternate wet AWDM, alternate wetting and drying of the moisture, then it becomes a little bit tricky because now you've got times that it is dry, then some of our platforms, remote sensing platforms, might not work on it. There will be times that it is wet, then yes, some of our remote sensing platforms could help. So it boils down to what kind of platforms are we talking about? What kind of remote sensing bands are we using to be able to detect those soil water conditions for the rice fields? But in general, in terms of the rice field, we have a lot more tools compared with a more dryland condition wherein the soil moisture is below about 20 centimeters, where even the microwave could not detect those moisture anymore. So that's a good question. So we have a lot more tools in terms of the rice field for soil and water conditions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aguilar and to Ma'am Fe for asking that question. We have here another question, sir, from our Facebook page po. How can precision irrigation be available to small farmers considering their limited financial resources?
That's a very good question because most of the technologies that are being developed right now are geared towards big operations, not only in the U.S. but also in other parts of the world. So one of the marginalized farmers, could they afford it? So I would probably suggest that with the help of the government, we could make some of those platforms available for the farmers as well, particularly those satellite-based or the what do you call it, aerial-based platforms, because with using those, we now operate under the economy of scale. So if you've got a small field and you are going to pay for that services, if you have a small field, then it's going to cost you a lot more. Whereas if you've got the economy of scale, wherein a satellite is taking a picture of, let's say, one region in the Philippines, that's a lot less. It's a lot more less expensive compared when you are just focusing on one field. Now the trade-off would be on the scale, on the spatial scale. So how much could you see from a larger picture towards a smaller scale? I think there is already some from projects that are going on. I've seen the UPLB was trying to use the remote sensing with the soil moisture sensors, and they're able to see on a much smaller scale to validate that in the field. And I think it's coming to be more useful for the farmers. So I think we still have some steps to get to be able to, for a small scale farmer to be able to utilize it, but we are moving in the right steps. And I think one of those venue that we could make some of those useful for the smaller farmers would be the aerial images or the satellite images. Again, working under that banner of the economy of scale. So again, with the help of the government, hopefully we could achieve that. One of the issue with remote sensing or the bigger scale is the frequency. So I hope we could get through that because water management is almost on a day-to-day basis. You could not wait for next week to irrigate when your field is already drying up. So we hope to be able to bridge that with the help of the government or even the extension program of the government or other universities. So again, there's hope for it, but we might have to deal with it one step at a time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aguilar, for addressing these concerns of our participants. Those who would like to ask questions to our speaker, you might want to raise your hand or send the questions via chat. Perhaps you were able to address all of their concerns in terms of the topic precision irrigation, Dr. Aguilar. So we shall now award the certificate to our first speaker. And to award the certificates, may I ask the key proponents of this event to please turn on their camera. Now to we have with us the key officials of the university and our partner universities. So allow me to read the citation. Republic of the Philippines, Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, Vietnam National University of Agriculture in Vietnam, and University Technology MATA present the Certificate of Commendation to Dr. Jonathan P. Aguilar, our plenary speaker, for sharing his valuable time, knowledge, and expertise during the 3rd International Conference on Education, Environment, and Agriculture on August 30 to 31, 2022 via Zoom with the theme Agri-Industrial Technology and E-Agriculture, Innovating Rural Development for the Future, given this 30th day of August 2022 via Zoom video conferencing. Signed, Nguyen Thi Lan, President of the VNUA, Rosaya Binti Mudhanor, Vice Chancellor of the UITM, Maria Lourdes G. Ferrer, SESO3, Director of the ERDP, and Alberto N. Naperi, the SUC President of the Central Bicol State University of Agriculture. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Jonathan P. Aguilar, for sharing your knowledge and expertise on the topic precision irrigation.
Thank you very much also for this honor and this opportunity. Maraming salamat. Just mabalos sa inyo, boss.
At this juncture, may we request all of our participants to please turn on your camera to have a photo opportunity with Dr. Aguilar. Okay, we'll take the photo in 3, 2, 1. On the second slide of the meeting, in 3, 2, 1. Those who haven't turned on their camera yet, we requested to please turn on your camera. Okay, are we good? Thank you so much to our technical team. Thank you very much, Dr. Aguilar, for being with us today and for sharing your knowledge with us today. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move forward to talk about the topic circular economy and sustainable agri-waste management for environmental protection. Allow me to introduce our second speaker. Dr. Sadhan Kumar Ghosh is the Dean of Faculty of Engineering and Technology and Professor in Mechanical Engineering at Jodhpur University in India. He headed the Department of Mechanical Engineering during 2012 to 2014, and the coordinator of the Center for QMS at Jodhpur University, Kolkata, India, founded in the year 1995. He is a renowned personality in the field of waste management, circular economy, green manufacturing, supply chain management, sustainable development, co-processing of hazardous and municipal solid waste in cement, kiln, plastic waste management and recycling, e-waste management and recycling management system standards, and PQM. Everyone, a professor and the department head and founder, coordinator of the Center for Quality Management System in Jodhpur University in India. A round of applause for Professor Sadhan Kumar Ghosh. Okay, since our speaker is not here with us yet, we will be giving time for everybody to have a short break, a bathroom break, and then we'll be back after a short while. By the way, we'd like to inform everyone that the attendance link will be available later this afternoon. And we'd also like to inform you that the post-assessment or the evaluation form will be posted after the program. Thank you very much, and please enjoy the short break.
Since I assumed the office in 2018, I have performed three critical roles as university president: as an academic leader, as an institutional builder, and as a resource mobilizer. To be able to perform these roles, we have embarked on a series of consultative processes with the various stakeholders in crafting the 5-year development plan that underscored the university's strategic focus on building the agricultural research university of global standards. Among the university's strategic thrust is establishing the One Campus, One Needs program. Since our priority has always been to ensure that our academic offerings and research undertakings are marked by global importance and relevance, the university likewise laid down the foundations of one academic e-governance system. With the onset of the global pandemic in 2020, we chartered anew the course of the university's strategic directions. Almost immediately, we launched the CBSUA Virtual Learning Portal to address the new normal mode of teaching and learning processes. Aside from this, other student services also shifted to one online platform. We have pursued accreditation and compliance of university program offerings. The university explores its full potential by promoting new ways of thinking and providing relevant changes to local youth. The university has consistently performed well in licensure examinations, particularly in the biosystem and agricultural engineering exams, which posted an average of 92% passing percentage in the last 4 years. Moreover, as we have done in the past, the university has produced top placers in the various licensure examinations, since one of our priorities is to provide access to quality tertiary education. The university has provided scholarship programs and grants to more than 4,000 deserving students each year. Aside from scholarships and grants, our students also participated in 21 international student development activities that enhance their critical skills in leadership, decision-making, collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. Faculty members who are at the helm of knowledge generations and utilization have been highly encouraged to pursue advanced studies. Aside from academic engagements, improvements in the university infrastructure and facilities, procurement of equipment and fixtures were done to ensure productivity and worthwhile teaching learning experiences among teachers and students. As such, a number of new infrastructures were added to the physical assets of the university. The university's primary role is to generate and utilize new knowledge and technologies that will alleviate the lives of its communities. As such, the university established 17 specialized centers that focus on R&D activities on various commodities. Some 557 faculty members across the different academic disciplines have been actively engaged in various R&D undertakings. To date, 33 research outputs have been published in various accredited international journals. The university also published its first ever international journal, the Agricultura Journal, a biannual peer-reviewed publication which features research activities on various fields. The university likewise operationalized the Plant Genetic Resources Laboratory and continued to operations of the Food Testing Laboratory and the complementary food process.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. So moving forward to talk about the topic circular economy and sustainable agri-waste management for environmental protection, allow me to introduce again our second speaker. Dr. Sadhan Kumar Ghosh is the Dean of Faculty of Engineering of Technology and Professor in Mechanical Engineering at Jodhpur University in India. He headed the Department of Mechanical Engineering during 2012 to 2014 and the coordinator of the Center for QMS at Jodhpur University, Kolkata, India, founded in the year 1995. He is a renowned personality in the field of waste management, circular economy, green manufacturing, supply chain management, sustainable development, co-processing of hazardous and municipal solid waste and cement kiln, plastic waste management and recycling, e-waste management and recycling, and management system standards and PQM. Everyone, a professor and a department head and founder coordinator of the Center for Quality Management System in Jodhpur University in India. A round of applause for Professor Sadhan Kumar Ghosh.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning. Just 1 minute. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation to this August gathering in CEEE 2022, organized by CVSUA Philippines. And I am very enchanted and excited to see a good number of participants. So I can see around 168 participants in this webinar. And I must thank Professor Napperi, my friend, who is the president of the university, and Aris, who is a director of the research in CVSUA for the invitation. So today, I will speak about how the circular economy in agricultural industry or agri products can be applied, because you know that throughout the world, specifically in the Asia Pacific region, huge amount of agricultural products, including the West in the agricultural sites, specifically the paddy field, are burned, open burning is done, and which are the resources for us from the agricultural field is concerned. And if we concern about India, Philippines, Thailand, and a few other countries in Asia, we can see that this is a major problem with for the environmental emission is concerned. In India, we have seen that in Delhi specifically, the northern region of India, this is not only a problem of the environment, but also it is a problem of the traditional practice, because you know that even if you give them good monetary benefit for taking those waste from the land, they have some idea that traditionally they must not sell it, rather they should burn it. Of course, they have another idea that if they burn it in the land, then it will be beneficial for the next cultivation in that particular land. So there are many issues. Like if we talk about the waste food, I mean waste vegetables. I'm just sharing my PPT. I think this PPT is visible. PPT is visible or not? Hello? Can you see the PPT?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
All right. So, in fact, the vegetables which we are wasting, like there are specifically there are something like potato, tomatoes, and some other thing. These two are very important thing. I mean, whenever they are produced, they are seasonal, and whenever they are produced en masse, huge amount, and the provision of putting those into the storehouse is a problem whenever it is produced. And as a matter of fact, they are sold in some of the places where they are produced at a very low cost, which does not give the return to the farmers. And on the other hand, as the paucity of the storehouse, lot of vegetables which are produced from the agricultural land are rotten, and those are lying idle on the roadside, and huge amount. These are wastage of money, wastage of resources, and wastage of the vegetables and the agricultural bill. So keeping this in background, we must think of how the circular economy and sustainable agricultural management for the environmental protection and as well as the economic development can be, can act in the countries, different countries, specifically in Asia Pacific. This is really a problem. And whenever we talk about the circular economy, it is we who have extracted huge amount of natural resources from the earth. And as a matter of fact, water for agriculture is enormously used throughout the world, including because that water is available in the Asia Pacific countries, and we think that this is available at free of cost and we can use at our own will. But that should not be. Apart from this water, there are other natural resources which we extract from the natural, globe. And as a matter of fact, if we talk about the data, we have seen that between 1917 and 2017, we have extracted around 92.1 billion tons of natural resources, which is really a very big number. While it has been also estimated that if we go ahead with this rate of extraction of natural resources, this will be more than double by 2050, and that will be a problem for the sustainable development, sustainable agriculture in the world. So we have to restrict our use of extraction of the natural resources, and if we have to restrict the use of natural resources, then we must go for the circulation of the waste wherever it is possible. It is not only in the agricultural field, it is in the agricultural field, it is in industry, even it is at the household level. So if we look into it, that India is a vast country. We have around 1.38 billion people who are living in this country. But we are extracting quite a big amount of natural resources. I mean, the world average is 450 tons per acre, and we extract around 1,580 tons per acre. I am sure that the natural resources extraction in Philippines is also little above the world average. And these are the issues which has to be looked into and addressed whenever we talk about the sustainable development, whenever we talk about the sustainable agricultural development is concerned. Because you know that all these issues, ultimately, if we make wastage of all this, then it is a wastage of money. And on the other hand, it is enhancing the greenhouse gas emission to the environment, which is another aspect which we have to look into. The third thing is, you know that huge amount of water is used in agricultural field, and the controlled use of water and the wise use of water in the agricultural field is also a very important aspect in parallel to the reduction of the wastage of vegetables and agricultural products, as well as the utilization of the products which are yet to be wasted, but we can make some value-added product. It can be product, it can be material, it can be energy. So there are a number of examples which you can see throughout the world, including, there are a number of examples in the Asia Pacific countries. There are examples even in the Philippines, there are examples in India, Vietnam, and other countries. So we have to do it. When you talk about the global agricultural system, you know that there are global food system expanded with the production faster than the population growth, because we are concerned about the food security. But whenever we talk about the food security, parallelly, we have to see so that the production of the food is controlled in such a fashion that whatever is required, it is little more than that. And you know that it has been also seen from Ellen MacArthur Foundation's report that every dollar spent on food, society pays $2 in health, environment, and economic cost. So these are all related issues, and these are all related to the circular economy and also the environmental problems. So this won't help the environmental sustainability. And moreover, today, everybody should think about the economic cost. So half of this cost, which totaling to USD 5.7 trillion each year globally, are due to the way food is produced. And not only produced, if I talk about some of the Asian countries like China, specifically China, Japan, the big brothers in Asia Pacific, they waste a lot of cooked food. It's not only the vegetables from the agricultural raw vegetables, but I have seen in many of the occasions that the food wastage in China becomes a tradition for them. So we have to reduce that. Because ultimately in Hong Kong, there are a number of plants which utilizes this waste food and make number of like say the feedstock for the animals, feedstock for the fish, and some other things. So, but we have to reduce at the source. So the wastage of food, cooked food, or the vegetables, raw vegetables, we must be very careful about whenever we are wasting and whenever we are planning for the production. So the agricultural land, if we look into the figure, this is also taken from a report which is published in 2022. You know that these are all addressing to the, contributing to the climate change, deforestation, land degradation, ecosystem service laws, biodiversity laws, freshwater use, and pollution. So this is some of the percentage I have given from there. So these are the percentage by which we are contributing to the climate change, deforestation, and all other aspects from the agricultural land, and due to the unplanned production of food. So if this continues, then this is really a problem for all of us. So we have to look into very seriously so that the food wastage can be reduced and the circularity in the wastage of the food, wastage of the agricultural product can be can happen. So how it is possible? These are all very common example throughout the world, specifically in Asia Pacific, and we have to act wisely so that our next generation have no problem in surviving in the achieving the environmental global sustainability. So the aspect which comes in front today is the circular economy. What is circular economy? This is a definition which is given by me in one of my books on circular economy, global perspective, that is published by Springer. So I call this the traditional practice is EPCD2. EPCD2 is extract from natural resources, produce something, consume, and then after consuming, you dispose and deplete. But here, dispose and deplete must have a paradigm shift to a closed loop system. What is that? So the circular economy is a system level approach to economic development and paradigm shift from the traditional concept of linear economy model, extract EPCD2, extract, produce, consume, dispose, and deplete, to an elevated echelon of achieving zero waste. Because we cannot spare wasting so much of material, so much of money. So in that way, we need to achieve zero waste. How? By resource conservation, to change concept. We have to change the design of the production process. We have to change the design of the cultivation process. We have to change the design of the planning process, the material which we are using. And with all these things, we have to conserve all kind of resources, which involves the material, which involves water, which involves electricity, and many other processes, the resources. And ultimately, at the end of the life cycle of a specific use of that particular product, it can be agricultural product, it can be industrial product, it should be fit to be utilized as an input material to a new production process. Like whenever the potatoes, tomatoes, and other vegetables are wasted, so what we can do is, instead of wasting those and putting it into the landfill or some other place, because these are all biodegradable, so we may think that, oh, these are all biodegradable, so let it be there, and after some time there will be no problem. No. The question here, why should we waste all this? So in that way, even if there are some excess, so what we have to do is we have to utilize this as an input material to a second production process. What can be the second production process? You can derive energy out of it. You can derive the compost out of it, which can substitute the chemical fertilizer. You can derive some good products which is manufactured, which is produced by. You can go and see there are a number of factories, there are a number of plants in Hong Kong. At least I have visited 2 plants where all these wasted products, including the cooked waste, they are producing some products which are feed for the animals, and those are very expensive. I mean, it is at least say $2 per kg or $2.5 per kg as of today. So which is very expensive, and there is a very good business model. And doing this, we are closing the loop of the material cycles. This improves the resource efficiency, reduce the wastage, resource productivity, and after all, it can benefit business. So it can develop a business model. It can develop entrepreneurs for making their business model, and ultimately, this creates an employment opportunity and provides environmental sustainability. So this is circular economy. Now, the researchers and the others who are attending this conference, I'm quite sure that they will think of how the circularity of the processes, circularity of the wastage, circularity of the material can be implemented in the agricultural system. And there are a number of examples. So, and this is also a very good research, research activity and research area where huge amount of money for different projects are invested by the entrepreneurs, invested by the government, invested by the private entrepreneurs, invested by the industries. So in that way, I encourage all the researchers who are here to do their research on circular economy. And you know that there are three principles where applicable for agribusiness sector. One is pollution and waste should be replaced. Pollution and waste are replaced to become regenerative, as I was just referring to, avoid damage to the human health and environment. And you know that this pollution created from this agri-based products and agricultural aspects, it pollutes air, land, water, and this has to be avoided. So this is number one. So pollution and waste should be replaced. There may be several plans, there may be innovative plans, but that has to be done. What is the second one? Preserve the value over time and design for durability, reuse, remanufacture, and recycling. I know that remanufacture is not applicable to agri-waste industries in most of the cases, but recycling in the technical cycle privilege the effective use of biological-based materials before it is returned to the natural system. So this is one where you have to look into that how the value over time can be preserved. The third and most important aspect is a circular system avoids the use of non-renewable resources and returns valuable nutrients to the soil to support natural regeneration. So in any of the cases, whether you are providing energy to the agricultural land, whether you are providing to the other aspects, so always try to use renewable energy sources. So renewable energy sources, which helps in reducing the pollution emission to the pollution. The GHG emission is very, very low, as well as you can also get the carbon credit for the business houses. So these are the three very important principles of circular economy which can be applicable to the agri-waste. And you know that there are so many things, so many examples, and you have been also practicing. Like say this is the bamboo tree. So each of the parts of the bamboo tree, so leaves, poles, twigs, this thin spheles, then biomass, everything can be processed and nothing can be wasted. And all this processing waste at all the stages. So in that way, like say jute, I'm sure that you know jute or cane. Like in India and Bangladesh, we have huge amount of jute. So what do we do? The jute, not a single part of the jute we waste. Like the leaves, it is used as a very good food. and also it has a medicinal value, so we use it. The stick has a bark and inside stem. So the bark is used as a process in the industry, and it is used as a jute, which is very famous throughout the world. And it is sometimes compared as silk also, with silk also. So it has a very good business, and sometimes jute is used to be a substitution of the plastic, which is really making a problem throughout the world. And the stick has a very high calorific value. So what we do is, one is the calorific value, other is the decorative value. So in that way, we utilize this stick either making the RDF or the pellets. Else, we use different decorative material, which has a very, very big market throughout the world. So this is the way we can make this wastage into a circularity process. So, you know that this is a business. I mean, in Uganda, what they do is, they are the largest producer of banana, and with an estimated amount of around 10 million metric ton per year. So what they do is, previously, they were just throwing here and there and wasted a lot of money. So what UNIDO has supported them. And what they do is, they convert these, sometimes the waste product, sometimes the cover and all these things. They put the biogas plant, and as a matter of fact, they convert this into fuel, biofuel, and this is used either in the kitchen or any other, either biofuel in liquid stage or in the gaseous stage. And see, this lady is putting burning in the kitchen, and this is replaced the LPG gas. So similar way, this is a product which is you know that this is a case of Senegal. This is promoting within and between the value chain. What is there? There are a lot of post-harvest losses, and there is an innovative process which was introduced in that. What they do is, this again, the project includes the environmental friendly technological packages for processing and storage of this agricultural product. So what they do, byproduct and agricultural residues utilization as an input for the local production of animal feed, like silage, hay, fodder, etc., etc., so many things. Biofertilizer like compost, as I was referring to, or biomass to produce energy like biogas and others in biomethanation plant. And I have seen also biomethanation plant in Philippines. They were doing good. And one more thing within the Philippines, what I have seen is in the different barangays. So you have not only the green waste or the agricultural waste, but you have the collection of the dry waste by very small group of ladies. And I visited a number of places with one of my friends, Grace Sope. She was the president of the Waste Management Society. And I was impressed that these are the things, these are the initiatives which has to be there in the country, so that ultimately we can have the circularity in all the processes, not only the agricultural process. So by this, in Senegal, they also developed a clean energy resource by use of all these things. So this is also, and you know that for that we have sustainable development goals, 17 sustainable development goals, which we have to comply with. I'm not going to the detail because I don't have much time to spare, but whatever is the thing, whenever we talk about the circular economy, we must always think of how the product recycles can be extended or can be implemented. Second is how the materials can be utilized time and again, and the cycles of earths, because you know that in agriculture, not only the agricultural products, but also associated products. So with this cycle, we have to look into that we are not wasting any material. We are having always a closed loop system within the boundary. So I think, yeah, I think I have just finished this, and my submission to all of you is, because you are expert here, many of the researchers are attending here, because in India we started not very long back. Last 15 years, we have changed a lot. And you know that in all these processes, in 2016, we started when the new process of survection, there were only 72 cities which participated. From 2016 and 2021, from 75 cities, now we could manage to involve 4,242 cities, and our target is 5,000. So in that way, if the government comes forward, if the technology is there, if there is awareness generation, then the implementation of circular economy in agri-based product or agricultural area is not at all a challenging job, but this will help the national economy, this will help the environmental sustainability, and we can achieve very easily the sustainable development goals, and people will be at ease. So with this, I thank once again the organizer for inviting me for this keynote and the keynote plenary session. So thank you very much. On the other hand, I invite you all to join one of the biggest conference in the Asia, that International Conference on Sustainable Waste Management and Circular Economy, and IPLA Global Forum, that will be November 30 to December 3 in India, Tirupati. I have already shared with the secretariat of your conference so that this can be circulated. And there will be also a special session on Philippines. Dr. Aries and Dr. Linley will be conducting that. So I invite you all to come to India, or you can join on virtual mode and submit your papers. This is one of the biggest conference, and we are expecting around 35 countries to join in this conference. So thank you very much, and see you again once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing with us your proficiency, Dr. Ghosh. And thank you all also for the invitation for that international conference on November. So I hope the Philippines would have representatives in the said conference. So thank you so much again, Dr. Ghosh. At this point in time, our speaker will now entertain questions on the topic circular economy and sustainable agri-waste management for environmental protection. So if you have questions, you can use the chat aspect or chat feature of the Zoom video conferencing, or you may also want to comment in our Facebook page of the Extension Services Division. Or you can also raise your hand if you have several questions with you. I have here a question, sir, from the Facebook page. Here is the question, sir. Lower and middle income countries are still largely coming to terms with the circular economy concept and its national relevance. We know for a fact developed countries are in many ways already practicing circular economy. Now the question is, how can we turn circular economy into a development opportunity and at the same time protect and promote health of our people in the adoption of circular economy?
Yeah, so did you ask anything to me?
Yes, sir, that is the question. Would you like me to repeat the question, sir?
Can somebody write in the chat box?
Oh, okay, sir. For a moment, sir, we are still typing the question in our chat box.
I can see this. Who can see the message recording?
Okay.
Okay.
We have here another question, sir.
Yeah, please, you can repeat it once again because I could not hear, because I cannot see in the chat box anything.
Okay, sir. So this question is from Sir Jason Tuwang. Sabi niyo po, good morning, ma'am. I would like to ask Dr. Gush with this question. How will the youth become actively involved in the circular economy to address SDGs 2, which is zero hunger, 6, clean water and sanitation, 13, climate action, 14, life below water, and SDG 15, life on land? Likewise, how is India in terms of complying and contributing to the Paris Climate Accords? Thank you very much.
Yeah. You know that in India, the government of India has implemented, rather they have, first thing, in 2016, all the waste related rules, whether it is solid waste, liquid waste, or any other thing, even the battery waste, we have established a new rule in 2016. And today, with respect to the waste management, there are around 8 rules, including the EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. And we have also the Atal Mission for water. So these rules and also the regulations are asked to all the municipalities, like you have the barangays, we have municipality and wards. So these are all local bodies. So the government has instructed them to implement all those in the small scale level in each of the parts of the country. So as a matter of fact, as I was referring to, that in 2016, there were only 75 cities who were involved in this war. But in 2021, with the continuous process, 4,242 cities are involved now in all these processes. And this is not only they are implementing the process, and what we are doing, we have a Swachh Sarvekshan that includes liquid, solid, and also the compliance to the sustainable development goals. It is not only these 3-4 goals, all the goals together. And we have a survey, and this survey includes around 40.42 billion people, which is the biggest survey in the world. So what we do is there are a number of parameters. On the basis of those parameters, a third party, they go there and they assess what has been done in that particular place or in that particular cities. And they are also ranked with respect to the Indians respect is concerned. So people are getting very much motivated, not only the municipal administration, but also the general people. So in that way, we are trying to achieve the goals and the targets which are in different sustainable development goals. Of course, we are not very much satisfied that, and we are not saying that we have achieved all the goals. There are a lot of gaps, but the enhancement in the awareness in our country has increased quite a lot in the last 5 years, and we are hopeful that we will progress more in near future. And this Swachh Sarvekshan, this is such a survey that other countries are also imitating us this and implementing this. And I'll also request the Philippine administration as well as the researcher, please look into the website Swachh Sarvekshan, and you will get a lot of inputs. Swachh Survey and Swachh Sarvekshan, you will get a lot of inputs, what can be done and what are the achievements in our country. So thank you very much for, this is a very good question. This is a very good question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Ghosh. And thank you so much to Sir Jason for sending the question. We have another question.
Lower and middle income countries are still largely coming to terms with the CE concept and its national relevance. We know for a fact developed countries are in many ways already practicing circular economy than the lower income group. The question is, how can we turn CE into the development opportunities and at the same time protect and promote health toward people in the adoption of CE? Yeah, this is a very good question, and many of the countries, whenever I talk, this type of question comes from mainly the countries of little less improvement. What is my suggestion? Whether it is administration or it is general people, any type of waste, because waste is a problem for us. If there is no waste, there is no problem. Each of us has to look into the waste management as a business model. It is never a social model. It should be business model tagged with the society. So everywhere, if you see that there is a return or not, everywhere there is a return. So you have to look into that, what is the return out of it? If there is no return in one process, you have to think of an innovative process. You have to discuss with others who have a process which is bringing money. So this is the way the awareness generation, it is not only the name of CE, it is anything for the survival, it is anything for the sustainability. So think of how it can be turned into business. So once you think that this is the way it can be turned into the business, you will find that automatically this complies to the circular economy concept. So this is my advice, and this is my observation also in most of the countries who are achieving that waste management has to be seen. Waste management in agricultural industry, waste management is municipal industry, waste management is any other place. Whenever any country or any specific entity has looked into as a business model, one will be achieving circular economy in that process. So you just look into it, you will find there are a lot of benefits, there are a lot of ways and means how the circular economy can be implemented. So this is my idea, and I'll request all of you, whoever are interested, you can contact me. I'll just give my email ID and phone number. So I have a lot of inputs on circular economy. I have just written and edited 6 books on circular economy, and I have collaboration with nearly 40 countries throughout the world on circular economy. So there are a lot of inputs, there are a lot of ways and means. Only thing is that don't be anxious and don't be afraid of the name circular economy. Circular economy is a way of life, and look into anything with respect to the business model. I'm quite sure that the success and the implementation possibility will be near at your door. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ghosh, for addressing that question. Do we have other questions from our participants? We have here another one, sir. Let me read the question. Increasing plastic recycling is needed for the transition to the circular economy. Nowadays, the use of plastic is growing, but the efficiency of recycling is lagging behind.
The use of
Less than
plastic is growing,
25%
but the
of plastic
efficiency of
waste
recycling is lagging behind. Less than 25%
is recycled, and about 50% goes to landfill. How can we address this specific challenge in the plastics industry?
Yeah, very good. This is another very daunting area. You know that plastic is not a problem. Problem we create with plastics. Because plastic is a very good material to use, and once you start using, you love to use it time and again. But the problem is how you are using and how you are disposing it. Again, I'm coming back to my circular economy definition, that EPCD2. You are extracting the material, petroleum and others, for producing plastic, and then you are consuming it. And the next is, whenever it is not usable, how you are disposing and whether you are depleting or not. In this too, you have to think of a recirculation. Like in India, what we are doing now, I have a project that how the opportunities of plastics can be turned into ocean plastics can be turned into circular economy that is funded by Norway. What we are doing, the plastic, there is some first thing is that awareness by the government, awareness by the association, NGOs, researcher, universities, and all these things. But most importantly, the legislation. The national legislation has to be there to restrict those. What are the restrictions? You cannot throw away plastics anywhere and everywhere. You must have some restriction on the use of very thin plastics. And the second is there must be some process if there are anything collection and dispose, like what we are doing now. The non-recyclable plastic waste collected and going for the recycling. The problem is non-recyclable plastic waste, like say MLP, multi-layered plastics, like say the pouches and other things, which are really not recyclables, but those are many. So what we are doing, we are asking people that dispose it in a particular place or collect it. And then all these non-recyclable plastic waste are going to the cement plant. So in the cement plant, we call the process co-processing, and I'm carrying out this research for last 10 years with different cement plants. What we are doing, we are taking all those materials, putting it into the cement plant. A part of the this waste is converted into fuel, energy, and substituting coal or the HSD. And the rest of the part which would have been ash in cement plant, this is converted into the clinker and ultimately this produce cement. So with the plastics which you are throwing it away, which doesn't have any value, we are now taking those plastics into the cement plant. We are getting some energy out of it, and the rest of the thing we are producing cement. So I don't know that the waste plastics which I was using, whether my house is built by that the cement which is produced out of those plastics. So this is the way, and you know that people have to be very conscious about the use and disposal of plastics. And there must be restriction by the government that why it is 50% going to the landfill. Because again, my theory comes here that think of this as a business model. The 50% of the plastic which people are throwing to the landfill, it has a very good value chain. It has value and you have got good return. So this must be, there must be good awareness program in the country and also the national legislation. I'm quite sure in India, we have done a lot, we are doing a lot. There are many countries who are doing good. And I'm sure that those countries who are not doing good, they must follow those practices and they must have the national policy and the people has to be involved, the community has to be involved. And I'm quite sure the CE in that, because you know that plastic has a big economy, like the waste plastics, waste electronic waste, waste construction and demolition waste. These are all very good business model having throughout the world. So imitate those, take those and implement those. Thank you. And these are my phone number and email. So you are welcome to write to me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ghosh. We have here another question, sir, and I hope you would be addressing this one as well. This is from Sir Michael Baldonado. He said, thank you for the presentation, Dr. Ghosh. I would like to ask, will shifting to a circular economy demand changes in consumer behavior? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. Did you have any question? No. Right?
Allow me to read the question po again, sir, from Sir Michael Baldonado, sir. Will shifting to a circular economy demand changes in consumer behavior?
How the behavior can be changed, right?
Yes, sir. Will it affect the consumer behavior?
Of course, of course. Because, you know, that the West starts from the consumer only. Consumer, again, I'm coming to the EPCD2 theory. I mean, extract, produce, consume. Consumer consumes. And then what is the behavior of that particular consumer? Whether they're throwing it away or whether he or she is thinking of that this should go in a business model to help society, to help environment, and to earn some money. So therefrom, the attitude and the behavior of the customer starts. So as you rightly pointed out, that customer behavior has a very, very important role to play with respect to the implementation of the circular economy. And there should be, again, number of awareness generation program, number of national policy and strategy targets, and even at the local government level, there must be a very will help in enhancing and implementing the circular economy in the country. So you have rightly pointed out that this is a very good aspect which the society as well as the government as well as the local government must take into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ghosh. To everyone, we have here the email account of Dr. Ghosh and perhaps his telephone number. Is that your telephone number, sir? On the chat box. His contact information is in our chat. So if you would like to ask him several questions related to the topic, then you could just perhaps reach out to him through his email account. Thank you very much, Dr. Ghosh. And at this point in time, we shall now award the certificate to our speaker. And to award again the certificates, may I ask the key proponents of this event to please turn on their camera.
Thank you.
Allow me to read the citation. Republic of the Philippines, Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, Vietnam National University of Agriculture, and University Technology Mara present the Certificate of Commendation to Dr. Sadhan Kumar Ghosh, our plenary speaker, for sharing his valuable time, knowledge, and expertise during the 3rd International Conference on Education, Environment, and Agriculture on August 30 to 31, 2022 via Zoom video conferencing with the theme Agri-Industrial Technology and E-Agricultural Innovating Rural Development for the Future. Given this 30th day of August 2022 via Zoom, signed Dr. Nguyen Thilan, the President of the VNUA, Dr. Rosaya Bentimod Hanor, the Vice Chancellor of the UITM, Dr. Maria Lourdes G. Ferreira, the Director of the ERDB, and Dr. Alberto N. Naveri, the SUC President Core of CBSUA. Once again, thank you very much, Professor Sadhan Ghosh, for sharing with us your expertise, your brilliance, your excellence in this field of
Thank you.
expertise.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. You have conducted the program very nicely. I'm very happy, so smart. And
Thank you very much.
I can also see Aries. Thank you very much. Okay. See you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sir.
Bye.
Okay, so now that our two speakers have already shared with us their expertise, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That ends the first half of our two-day event. We shall be back this afternoon after the lunch break to listen to 2 more interesting topics. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy your lunch.
The Philippines is a home to a number of rich, diverse, and natural ecosystems. Among the notable ecosystems in the Philippines are the Dipterocarp ecosystem of Mount Makiling, Pine Forest ecosystem in Baguio City, wetland ecosystem of Olango Island in Cebu City, and coral reef ecosystem in Oriental Mindoro. Our country owns a rich biodiversity which provides an array of ecosystem services that enable humans to survive. But with factors such as deforestation, pollution, overpopulation, and climate change, the future of our ecosystems may be at risk. So how can we protect our biodiversity, natural resources, and ecosystems? This is the role of Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, or ERDB. On June 10, 1987, under the Executive Order 192, the former Forest Research Institute was reorganized into the Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, or ERDB. ERDB is the principal research arm of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources that develops relevant and scientific research and development programs that address the nation's cross-cutting concerns on different major ecosystems, such as forest, upland farms, grassland and degraded areas, coastal zone and freshwater, and urban areas. With this, ERDB has come up with 9 research and development programs to achieve the following goals: sustaining forest ecosystems, managing coastal and freshwater ecosystems dynamics, promoting health of urban areas ecosystems, addressing hazards in watersheds for water supply efficiency, sustaining agroforestry and upland farming systems, enhancing resilience of wetlands and coastal areas, conserving and sustaining plantations and natural forests, rehabilitating mined out and degraded areas through ERDB technologies, reducing pollution in highly urbanized areas. In 2015, from its main headquarters in Los Baños, Laguna, ERDB has widened its reach all over the country to develop more innovative ecosystem technologies in its 6 areas of excellence in the fields of watershed and water resources, toxic and hazardous wastes, urban and biodiversity, coastal resources and ecotourism, agroforestry, forestry, and wetlands. ERDB's research and development efforts are now organized in CAR, NCR, Region 4A, Region 7, Region 11, and Region 13 through its Research, Development, and Extension Centers, or RDEX. RDEX formulate and implement applied and action-oriented ENR studies that enable the advancement of research, development, and extension work in ERDB specialized areas of excellence. Loyal to its mandate, the Bureau pursues to strike a balance between caring for the ecosystems and nurturing people's lives by developing propagation technology, plantation establishment, and harvesting techniques for bamboo, rattan, and mangrove. Specializing in seed technology and clonal propagation of high-quality Dipterocarp seedlings and other indigenous forest trees. ERDB has invented the HiQ FAM1, an advanced biofertilizer used in DENR's nationwide reforestation programs. Through ERDB's Ridge to Reef research, the Bureau has developed relevant technologies for the rehabilitation of abandoned fish ponds, and development of environment-friendly techniques to revive polluted waters, mined out areas, and other degraded ecosystems. Today, the Bureau also actively spearheads the study of DENR's carrying capacity programs and vulnerability assessments of watersheds, protected areas, and ecotourism areas all over the country. But the role of ERDB does not end with developing technologies and programs. To extend its services to its stakeholders, ERDB conducts various technology transfer and extension activities such as provisions of technical assistance, capacity enhancements, and field deployment activities. ERDB maintains state-of-the-art research facilities and demonstration areas aimed to provide the public with a better grasp and appreciation of ERDB's generated technologies. Through its educational materials, ERDB encourages the public's participation with its 5-step strategic communication process: analyzing, strategic design, development and testing, implementation and monitoring, evaluation, and replanning. As a research institution, ERDB strives to reinforce their communication strategies, to promote their goals and raise public awareness. To do this, the Bureau regularly releases information about their scientific breakthroughs and projects through technical journals, semi-technical research and development newsletters, manuals, and bulletins. These publicity and promotional efforts are also instrumental in expanding research-driven studies and technologies to match the client's growing needs. The Bureau continues to promote its public reach, local and international, by maintaining its presence online. At ERDB, researchers from various fields of science continuously work together to develop cutting-edge technologies and revolutionary programs that will help advance the country's understanding of our ecosystems and encourage people to help preserve them. ERDB, bridging ecosystems, science to people.